Is it okay for you to do an interview?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. Where are you stationed?
I'm stationed with 2nd Battalion, 6th Marines at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
And what's your rank?
Corporal, E4.
And why'd you become a Marine?
I became a Marine because of the attacks of September 11th. I was always thinking about joining the military, and it was actually my first day of high school when the terrorist attacks happened. And when it came time to decide what I wanted to do after high school, thinking about 9/11, thinking about everything that happened, definitely pushed me into the military and made me become a Marine.
What kind of an effect did it have on you?
It scared me. It scared me at first, and then it definitely angered me. To think that someone could come here and do that to innocent people in our country where that isn't supposed to happen really bothered me. America has a lot of great things about it, and America has some not so great things about it. But what's so great is that everyone is entitled to discuss that. Everyone's entitled to believe what they want to believe. And the fact that just because someone disagreed with things that we were doing, so they decided to murder 3,000 people, that you can't let that happen.
But do you think it was something that we did, there was a cause and effect, or could it be something greater than one particular act?
I think something of this magnitude goes beyond one comment or one piece of foreign policy. According to the people responsible, things that America did, things that we did were responsible for the attacks. No one was responsible for the attacks of September 11th except for the terrorists themselves. No one forced Al-Qaeda to do this. No one forced any terrorists to do this.
What's it like to be here at Ground Zero, given what you do for a living?
It's definitely hard to describe. This is my first trip to Ground Zero. I think it would have been a little bit different if I had been here even 5 years ago. It's good that all this construction has advanced. I think it's a good thing that they're rebuilding. It's definitely not what I expected, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't think, now that I've been down here for a few hours and seen it for the first time, looking back on what I had in mind, I don't think you can have an anticipation of something of this size and magnitude before you actually come down here to see it.
You feel somehow re-inspired being here?
I feel justified. Actually, I get out of the Marine Corps a week from today. So this was one of the reasons I wanted to come down here and see it before I left the Marine Corps. So for me, it's a feeling of justification to know what happened right here where I'm standing, and to realize that where I am, I just came here for the first time today, and what happened here almost 10 years ago changed my life completely. It changed the course of my life and thousands of others. I don't think about the site itself. I think about what it represents and what the event that took place here represents.
Do you feel like you're avenging the blood of the Americans who were murdered here?
Yes.
For sure?
Yes. They can't fight for themselves anymore. Someone needs to fight for them, and someone needs to make sure that this never happens again.
Is that a feeling shared by most of the service members?
Yes. Yes. The majority of Marines that I have served with joined the Marine Corps because of September 11th. Politics aside, religion aside, any other issue aside, we joined because of what happened to innocent people here and because of what won't happen to innocent people 10 or 20 years from now.
You're fighting the Taliban, aren't you?
Yes.
Do you deal with them in any way? Do you understand what's motivating them, what's going to make them stop this global war on terror?
Do we try to understand the Taliban? On a daily basis? We have intelligence Marines who look into, as you talked about, the friction that might be between different tribes. We try our best to understand them. This is a situation, especially in Afghanistan, Marines and the U.S. Armed Forces as a whole, we did not initiate this war. We didn't start this war. We don't initiate engagements. We don't initiate contact. Generally, we are not the aggressors. When we get into firefights and we get into combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, we're defending ourselves and we're defending the people that we were sent there to protect. Yes, we've gone on the offensive, but it's only when we've been pushed. If they were to lay down their weapons, if they were to agree to peace, that would be the fastest resolution to getting Americans out of Iraq and out of Afghanistan. If they want us to leave so bad, stop fighting. Agree to peace. We're not there to continue a war. We're there to end a war. We're not there to fight a war. We're there to bring peace.
How would you feel if we abandoned the struggle before the enemy was defeated?
Again, these are my personal comments. My personal opinion on that is I believe that would be the complete wrong thing to do. I've lost many friends in Iraq and Afghanistan. Some of my friends will never be the same way, whether it be a loss of a limb, a traumatic brain injury, or just things that they saw. Their personalities have changed. As a whole, America, everyone has sacrificed. Everyone has known someone, if they haven't themselves personally sacrificed and directly sacrificed. 10 years. If you're in a marathon, which is 26.2 miles long, you don't run 26 miles and then stop. You don't walk away. You don't walk away. I feel, and again, these are my own personal thoughts, I feel as though abandoning the mission and giving up, one, is not what America is about. Our greatest moments have come the day after our darkest hours. That is not what we do. It would be disrespectful to us as Americans, and it would be disrespectful to the people that we sought to help. We told the Iraqis that we would stay there no matter what until the end. We kept that promise. We told the Afghans that we would stay there till the end no matter what and protect them. I feel abandoning the mission now and leaving would be dishonoring myself as someone who fought in both wars, dishonoring my friends who fought in both wars, and most importantly, dishonoring the memories of the Marines and service members who didn't return home.
People who say, is it America's job to be the world's policeman? How do you feel?
I don't feel that it is our role to be the world's police. However, there's a difference between being cocky and being arrogant and being truthful. There is a difference between right and wrong. Things can be cut and dry. There is right and there's wrong. When you see something happening, whether it be around the corner, across the street, or halfway around the world, when you see something happening that's wrong and you have the ability to do something about it and you don't, you're no different than the person who was responsible in the first place.
In other words, is this a moral move on America's part, as America as a moral force?
Absolutely. We are the greatest nation in the world. We have the ability to stop injustice and end the torture of innocent people. We have that power. We have that ability. No one else is going to do it but us. That's not arrogance. That's just the way the world is. I have absolutely no problem with America stepping in and doing the right thing. At the end of the day, they're wrong and we're right.
What was your purpose to come down here today?
My purpose to come down here today was, I've never been to the World Trade Center site before. My purpose for coming down here today was to pay my respects to everyone who was affected, whether they lost their lives or had their lives affected by the attacks of 9/11. I definitely feel I fall into that group. The September 11th attacks definitely changed my life. On July 2nd of last summer, while serving in Marj, Afghanistan, my patrol of U.S. Marines was ambushed by the Taliban. I was shot in the right side of my chest after an enemy armored piercing round penetrated the buttstock of my weapon and became lodged in my right pectoral muscle. My purpose for coming down here today was, in addition to paying my respects, I wanted to do that by leaving the Purple Heart medal that I was presented with at Ground Zero.
You wanted to abandon your Purple Heart?
I do not think I would have been abandoning it at all. Several people asked me questions along those lines. I'll always remember what happened. Leaving it here would put it where it needs to be, in my mind and in my heart.
Would you like to dedicate your Purple Heart to the victims of the World Trade Center bombings?
Yes. Yes, I would. They, as I said, what happened here on September 11th, 2001, at the end of the day is the reason why I joined the military. It's the reason why I joined the Marine Corps. It's the reason why I requested to join the Marine Corps as an infantryman. I wanted to fight. I wanted to do my part, and I wanted the opportunity to fight back for what happened to our country. Since that time, I fought in Fallujah, Iraq in 2007, and Marja, Afghanistan in 2010. Every day I spent in the Marine Corps was dedicated first and foremost to my family, but to the victims of September 11th and everyone who was affected. So I get out of the Marine Corps in a week. It's been 5.5 years. So the actions of every day, but especially July 18th, were for them. And I feel that's the least that any of us could have done.
If we pulled out without defeating the enemy, what do you think that would do to the global jihad?
I feel the message that it would send if we were to pull out of Iraq and Afghanistan now without completing the mission is that we weren't in it for the long haul and that we weren't dedicated to preventing this from happening again.
You think it would inspire and embolden the enemy?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Why?
If they know that they can throw us from our course of action, if they can shake our foundation and shake our moral beliefs, then they have won. They took 2 buildings down. They were trying to send a message. We need to send an even more powerful message that they failed. If 10 years after the attacks on September 11th, we allow our moral foundation and what our beliefs to fall 10 years after the buildings came down, then 10 years after the attacks, even after all the success we've had against the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, in Iraq and Afghanistan, even with the recent capture and killing of Osama bin Laden, if we abandon the mission now, then 10 years after the attacks of September 11th, in the end, the enemy will have won. Nothing can be gained from leaving now. We made a commitment to the Iraqi people, we made a commitment to the Afghani people, but first and foremost, and most importantly, we made a commitment to Americans, specifically Americans who lost their lives on September 11th, 2001. Abandoning now, leaving the mission now, would dishonor them, would dishonor their families, would dishonor the memories of men and women of the armed forces who have lost their lives in the war on terrorism since September 11th, 2001. It's been 10 years. There is not much left to go. We don't have much time left in Iraq, and we are on the verge of success in Afghanistan. I feel we are exactly where we need to be. We are almost there, and we should not leave right now. One of the biggest...
Wait a second, we gotta wait for that.
As I said, I'm a Marine. I'm a corporal with 2nd Battalion, 6th Marines. In June of last year, we were ordered to deploy to Marja, Afghanistan, which is in the southern region of Helmand province. Our mission came directly on the heels of the initiation of one of the largest ground combat offensives of the global war on terrorism in Afghanistan. 1st Battalion, 6th Marines, and 3rd Battalion, 6th Marines, 1-6 and 3-6, had done an initial offensive push to gain a foothold in the Marja area. They held that ground, and then when our battalion, 2-6, and another battalion from our regiment, 3-9, that fell under 6th Marines, when we arrived, we assumed control of the ground that 1-6 and 3-6 had gained, and then our mission became to advance and push against the enemy and secure the Marja region and free it of any Taliban presence and Taliban influence. One of the biggest obstacles we faced is one of the biggest obstacles that the U.S. and coalition forces face in Afghanistan, and that is the illegal drug trade. Marja, Afghanistan, and this is one city in one region of Afghanistan, is responsible for more than 50% of global opium production. They are responsible for more than 50% of the opium market in the world. The drug trade in Afghanistan directly funds the Taliban, and that money is directly funneled to Al-Qaeda. drugs are a major problem in the war on terrorism, specifically in Afghanistan. This is where they get their money. This is where they get the money to get the weapons and equipment that they use against us.
Is it going to be too hard? If we can't beat the war on drugs, how are we going to beat it there?
We're U.S. Marines. Nothing's too hard.
Do you feel like you're fighting two wars here?
It's a major part of one war. It's 2010, 2011. Everything's modern. War has become modern. The drug trade is a major factor in the war on terrorism. It's a difficult factor, but like I said, we're U.S. Marines. There's nothing that we can't overcome at the end of the day. If we have to beat drugs to win the war, we'll beat their drug problem. We'll find a way.
What would Afghanistan be like without the drug business?
What would the country be like, or what would the people be like? Their economy would suffer initially, and that is one of the biggest obstacles we face. We need to convince them that it is in their best interest, long term, in the best interest of their nation, to go through a year or two, or perhaps even 3, of difficult financial times. They are not financially secure to begin with, so trying to convince them to bring harder times upon themselves, it's a difficult sell, and we understand that. However, long-term success is what we're there for. If we are able to eradicate or greatly reduce the impact, presence, and influence of illegal drugs in Marja, Helmand province, and Afghanistan as a whole, we will strangle the Taliban and Al-Qaeda's #1 source of financial income.
Here.
That is the Purple Heart medal that I was awarded and I was presented with for being wounded in action in Afghanistan.
You can hold that. A little more by your chin there. And where do they present it to you?
I was presented this medal on Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, when we got back from our deployment.
How badly were you wounded?
I was very lucky. My wounds were severe given the location, but compared to what they could have been, I have no complaints at the end of the day. I was shot in the right side of my chest. The round penetrated the buttstock of my rifle.
Tell me where?
Right here, just in front of my armpit and below the top of my pectoral. The enemy round penetrated the buttstock of my rifle. There's a piece inside of our rifle called the buffer rod. It's a metal rod. It actually went completely through my weapon, glanced off of the body armor plate that we wear, the protective armor, and passed through my right pectoral and became lodged in my armpit.
Were you conscious?
Yes, I did not. I was awake the entire time.
And what was it like after you realized you've been shot?
I didn't realize what was going on at first. I just kind of...
You had a lot of gear.
I had a lot of gear. I was very concerned about my Marines. I was very concerned about if anyone else had been hit. I was concerned about where the enemy was. By the time we actually settled down a little bit and realized what had happened, you just react. I reacted. The Marines around me reacted. We did what we had to do, and everybody made it home.
Where did they take you to a hospital?
We called in air support. I was extracted via helicopter by an Army medical unit known as Dust Off. They did a landing under fire, got me on the helicopter. I was taken to a nearby field hospital. I underwent 2 emergency surgeries, and I returned back to my unit about 4 or 5 weeks later.
How concerned were you that you might not make it?
I knew I was going to be okay. I didn't know how badly I had been wounded, but I knew I was going to be okay. Even if my wounds were more severe, I was surrounded by Marines, so I knew everything was going to be okay.
And this Purple Heart, you were willing to sacrifice it today if there was a way that you could have dedicated it?
I don't view that as a sacrifice. This was something I put a lot of thought into. I feel this is where it belongs. I know what this means. I mean, I have it in my hand now. It was presented to me. I feel that this is where it needs to be. This would make me comfortable knowing that it's here.
You feel like your blood is now somehow, that you shed your blood in their honor?
I wouldn't go so far as to say that, just because I don't know if all of their families would agree with a statement like that, and I would never want to disrespect them.
Right.
I did what I did because of what happened here, and I leave that up to anyone else's interpretation. I don't view leaving it here as sacrificing it. Like I said, in my mind, that's where it needs to be. That's what would make me feel better. I know what happened, I know what I did, and I know why I did it. And it's a little symbolic, but it's the least that any one of us could do or could have done for what happened here.
And is that unusual among your colleagues and peers?
To leave these... To
feel like you're somehow connected in avenging their blood.
Like I said, that's up to everybody else if they want to speak for themselves. I only speak for myself, and that's just to say what I've done was because of what happened here. If that makes me connected to the terrorist attacks, every American was connected. Everyone who was here, anyone who had anything to do with America was affected that day. We were all affected in different ways. The way that I was affected was that I was angry and I became a United States Marine.
Knowing that you could get wounded again if you were to stay, would you do anything differently?
Would I do anything differently if I could go back?
If you had a chance to do it all over again, would you do anything differently?
Not at all. There's not a single thing I would change.